Hey, good weekend to you. Welcome to Leading Edge. I'm Jerry Anderson. If I say Port Authority, you likely think of the airport, maybe Toledo Seaport, and you'd be right, certainly, partially. The agency that says it's more than a port has in the past year welcomed a new leader, and he's at my table ahead on Leading Edge. But first, the issue, the debate that just keeps on giving. Some say, yeah, keeps giving public dollars to private institutions, and too often, recently, the discussion spirals downward from there. The issue is EdChoice, one of the hottest issues in our area and our state in recent days and weeks. EdChoice, it is a thing, and a topic of debate is actually a couple of decades old in Ohio. It's the program that allows a student in a school regarded as underperforming or failing to enroll in a private school with the state and the public school district paying the tab. At my table are Father Geoff Rose, president of St. Francis High School, Tom Hosler, superintendent of the highly successful Perrysburg School District. We thought about maybe erecting the octagon, some sort of cage match, but these two highly respected educators actually recently teamed up in authoring a letter about EdChoice, the wedge the state seems to have pounded between public and private education. A letter signed by really dozens of area superintendents, educators. Father Geoff, why the letter?
Tom and I, Tom's a grad of St. Francis,
Absolutely.
and we were joking about, I'm a public school product. I didn't go to a Catholic school until I did my seminary studies. Tom has a lot of Catholic school experience as a student and a teacher and administrator. And so we've had, I did my ed leadership internship with Tom, so we were just talking about how unfortunate it was. And I think Tom was like, maybe we should do something. Maybe we should say something and see if others support it. Because I think everyone quickly reacts,
Yeah.
So it was an opportunity.
Mr. Hosler, your district doesn't have even one school tagged with the EdChoice label, so what prompted you to engage on this issue?
Well, I think it really comes back to wanting to set the tone in terms of how do we want to frame this conversation, because as this conversation got going, especially in Columbus, it really pitted public against private schools, and really that isn't where the discussion needs to be. So I think it was our hope when we talked about it is to try to pull back, and it affects all districts and really all students, because it really underscores how the state funding system is really failing not only public schools but also private schools.
You stole some of my thunder, because I was going to mention Mr. Hosler is a graduate of St. Francis. Father Geoff, a product of public schools up in Adrian, Michigan, right?
Correct. Yeah.
How did this thing get to a point, though, where it ballooned to 1,200 schools in this state, many now in a well-performing suburban district? Is the state report card the real culprit here?
I think so. When you look at the state report card and how it is set up, and then you tie these, other programs to it, it really shows how it's broken. And it's not really, first of all, it's not telling people exactly how things are going in that district. And now it's being used as a tool really to hit in ways that are just really unimaginable in many ways.
Father Geoff, can we say the report card? You can actually look at it and say, what report card? I mean, because you guys, you don't really have to go through all of that, do you?
Yeah, Tom and I have talked about that a lot. Our EdChoice students do have to do the same test that they would.
Your
if they were in a public
non-EdChoice
school.
students, though, here's my question. How fair is it to the publics to lose students and money to an entity that doesn't undergo the same scrutiny, it seems, as the publics?
Well, I think there's a fairness question about it in terms of the exact scrutiny or requirements of programs that public schools might have to offer. So I'm certainly not going to defend that in one sense, but there is a built-in scrutiny to the end product of what a school produces one way or the other.
And I would like to say that because the state report card isn't working for us, we shouldn't immediately rush to say, let's apply this broken tool for everybody. Let's fix the report card so we can give all parents, a better way to assess how things are going.
Yeah, it's no secret that some diocesan schools have struggled with enrollment. Fair?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as they've struggled with enrollment, to those, the voucher system seems like a windfall, or could. But I have talked with educators in some of those schools who say the traditional Catholic families aren't all that happy with this influx of public students who don't really, shall we say, share the faith. That, hey, if I wanted my kid to go to a public school, I'd send them there and save the tuition. The fear that the character and faith-based style of education they had sought was changing, eroded, disappearing. Is that an issue? What do you do with it?
At St. Francis, we've grown each of the last 4 years, and we have never marketed to EdChoice. So it's not our personal experience. We would only even broach that question after a student had been admitted. So, but yeah, and I think that is a danger for some people is they've seen their school maybe get smaller and think, oh, this is an opportunity to maybe, stem the tide of lost dollars or something. But yeah, then you could end up changing the very nature of your institution, still doing good things, but maybe not what you originally thought it was.
Now, get the octagon ready. Do private schools outperform public schools?
Oh, what a apples and oranges question, I think.
Well, you graduated from a public school. You're doing very well.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what's happening
That was a
to me,
good cover
so.
right there, Hosler. All right, very good. We've heard recently from some powerful elected officials, like Senator Fetter, sitting at this table on my show last week, that private outperformance isn't true. And yes, that opinion has been voiced by the leader of a large public school district, referencing your school, Father Geoff. You take exception and say, in effect, see, that's an indication of what's happening here.
Yeah.
When somebody says, their school, our district is performing better in math than St. Francis is. And that's not really a true statement in context.
Correct. Yeah. There's been some comparison numbers that we're really just looking at our EdChoice students or any school's EdChoice students. So that we had 70 EdChoice students in our building, and so those are the public test score numbers that someone could get off the website. But that's not the 700 boys at St. Francis.
But again, I think that's part of the reason in authoring that letter is, folks, let's compare apples to apples, and let's bring things. Let's talk reality and honesty. If they want to talk about the EdChoice numbers in your school, let them specify those were kids who were early in a public school that went over to your district or to your school, right? Mm-hmm. All right.
Sure.
Can you guys hang?
Sure.
Because Columbus is they're just last week we said they're punting on this. As of we tape this show, I'm not sure they know what they're doing. There's a shock. This is Leading Edge. We're back right after this.